the getting average, you have to input N1, N2, N3. So the second one is the process. You have to calculate N1 plus N2 plus N3 and divided by 3 and store it as average. And for the output is the average. For the ascending order, if N3 less than N1 and N3 is less than N2 and N2 is not equal to N1. If condition is true, then initiate F is equal to N3, S is equal to N2, and T is equal to N1. And if the condition is false, then initiate F is equal to N1, S is equal to N2, and T N3. Output F, S, and T. For the descending order, if N3 is greater than N1 and N3 is greater than N2 and N2 is not equal N1. Same as the ascending order, if the condition is true, initialize F is equal to N1, S, N2, T is equal to N3. If condition is false, initiate F is equal to N3, S is equal to N2, and T is equal to N1. Then for the output, F, S, and T. For the square of ascending, first you have to calculate N1 times N2. For the square of ascending, first you have to calculate N1 times N1, N2 times N2, N3 times N3, and store it as square 1, and square 2. Square 2 less than square 1, and square 2 less than square, and square 1 is not equal to square, and for the output is square 1, square 2. For the square root of descending, calculate N1 plus N2 plus N3 and store it as SQRT or square root 1 or square root 2. Square root 2 is greater than square root 1, and square root 2 is greater than square root, and square root 1 is not equal to square root. So the output is square root 1, and square root 2.
So this is the getting the input part of the program number 1. So when the program starts, the program will declare 3 double variables, which is the N1, N2, and N3. Next is it prompts the user for the 3 inputs, and it reads and store it to N1, N2, and N3 variables. Next is the computation to get the average, which is the N1 plus N2 plus N3 divided by 3. And finally, the program will print the output of the process and immediately stop the program.
So this is the sorting and ascending order part of program number 1. So when the program starts, it says here in a input sign get ascending order. So in this part, we will be using the variables N1, N2, and N3, which is already initialized in the earlier part of the program. So we'll move here in the conditional statement. If N3 is less than N1 and N3 is less than N2 and N2 is not equals to N, and if this condition yields true, then we initialize N3 to variable F, N2 to S, and N1 to T, and print or output the ascending order plus F plus S plus T and stop the program. But if the condition yields false, then we initialize N1 to variable F, N2 to S, and N3 to T, and print the output and stop the program. So this is the sorting in descending order part of the program number 1. So when the program starts, it says here in input sign that get descending order. So in this part, we will be using the variables N1, N2, and N3, which is already initialized in the earlier video. So we will go to the next part, which is the conditional statement. If N3 is greater than N1 and N3 is greater than N2 and N2 is not equals to N1, then if this condition yields to true, then we initialize N3 to the variable F, N2 to the variable S, and N1 to T, and print descending order plus F plus S plus T, and stop the program. So if this condition yields false, then we initialize N1 to F, N2 to S, and N3 to T. So after this, we will display the output and stop the program. So this is the square of ascending part of the program number 1. So when the program starts, it says here in an input sign that gets square of ascending. So it means that the program will get 3 inputs from the user. So after this, the program will solve for the square of the 3 inputs and store them in square 1, and square 2, which is in the type of double. Next, here is the conditional statement. So if square 2 is less than square, and square 2 is less than square 1, and square 1 is not equals to square, then if this condition yields true, then we initialize square 2 to variable f, square 1 to variable s, and square to variable t, and print the output and immediately stop the program. But if the condition yields false, then we initialize square to f, square 1 to s, and square 2 to t, and print the output rather, and stop the program. So this is the getting the square root of descending part of the program number 1. So when the program starts, it says here in a input sign that get square root of descending. It means that the program will prompt the user to input 3 numbers to the program. After the numbers are inputted, the program will calculate for their square roots and store them in SQRT, SQRT1, and SQRT2. Then here goes the conditional statement that will sort our outputs in descending order. Now, if SQRT2 is greater than SQRT, and SQRT2 is greater than SQRT1, and SQRT1 is not equals to SQRT. So if this condition yields true, then we initialize SQRT2 to the variable f, to the double variable f, and SQRT1 to double variable s, and SQRT to double variable t, and print square root of descending and their outputs and stop the program. But if the condition yields false, then we initialize SQRT to double variable f, SQRT1 to double variable s, and SQRT2 to double variable t, and print the output and stop the program.
Hey guys, now I'm gonna explain to you how the process and how it works our code. First, you have to import java.util.scanner, class machine problem, public static void main, string, square bracket args. Then after that, we need to scanner scan is equal to new scanner system.in for the input. So in order to get the 3 integers, we need to system.out.print, then double quotes, enter 3 integers, colon, then semicolon. Don't forget the semicolon, guys. So in order to get the numbers or the input 10, 7, and negative 10, we need to declare double n1, n2, and n3 is equal to scan that next double to get the average of the 3 integers. So now, getting the average, we need to declare double average is equal to parenthesis n1 plus n2 plus n3, then divided by 3. So we need to first calculate inside the parentheses after we add the 3 integers divided by 3. Then system.out.print line, double quotes, backslash n for the new line, then colon, concatenate string.format, parenthesis, double quotes, modulo 1.2f or 0.2f, comma, average, then semicolon. We use string.format. It's because we need help to specify how many decimal we want, or how many decimal you want. If you put 1.2 or 0.2, 2 decimal will be output to your program, or you have to 0.3 or 1.3, 1.4 or 0.4, 4 decimal will be the result of the program. For the descending order, we use if-else statement to get the possible output, and that is 10, 7, and negative 10. Descending order is bigger to smaller. So, if the condition inside the if statement is true, the if statement code block will be executed. But if the condition is false, else statement code block will be executed. So, n3 is greater than n1, and n3 is greater than n2, and n2 is not equal to n1. So, which is false. Therefore, the else statement code block will be executed to get the descending order. So, system.out.print line, double quotes, descending order, colon, concatenate integer f, same as to the ascending order, so that you have the result without decimal points. Concatenate double quotes, comma, concatenate integer s, concatenate double quotes, comma, concatenate integer t, then semicolon. So, in order to get the square of ascending, we need to calculate and declare double and the variable which is square 1, and square 2. For the double square is equal to n1 times n1, semicolon. Double square 1 is equal to n2 times n2, semicolon. Then, double square 2 is equal to n3 times n3, semicolon. We use also if-else statement to get the ascending order, which is smaller to bigger. So, if square 2 is less than square, and square 2 is less than square 1, and square 1 is not equal to square. So, square 2, n3 times n3, which is negative 10 times negative 10, and that is the result of 100. Then, ang sa square, 10 times 10, which is 100 also. So, here, if condition here is true, the square is less than square is true, and square 2 is less than square 1, which is true. For the square 1 is equal to n2 times n2, which is 7 times 7 is equal to 46. So, true. And square 1 is not equal to square. Then, the code block of if statement is f is equal to square 2, and s is equal to square 1, and t is square. Then, semicolon. If the condition of if statement is false, or true rather, the if statement code block will be executed. Therefore, if the if condition is false, else statement code block will be executed. So here, the answer here is true. So the if condition is true. If condition statement will be printed here. System.out.print square of ascending, colon, concatenate integer f, concatenate double quotes, comma, concatenate integer s, concatenate double quotes, comma, concatenate integer t, then colon. So that is for the square of ascending. So to get the square root of ascending, we need to declare double and change the variable square root or sqrt, square root 1 or sqrt1 or square root 2 sqrt2. For the square root or sqrt is equal to mat.pow parenthesis n1, comma 0.5. Mat.pow is a method to get the square root of a positive number. Then square root 1 is equal to mat.pow parenthesis n2, comma 0.5, semicolon. So as you can see, for the double square root 2 is equal to mat.square root, parenthesis mat.abs, parenthesis n3. Why we use mat.square root and mat.abs? We use this method to convert negative number to positive number. It's because we cannot get the square root of a negative number. So we need this method to convert the negative to positive. So as I said, descending order is bigger to smaller. We use if-else statement to get the square root of descending. Square root 2 is greater than square root, and square root 2 is greater than square root 1, and square root 1 is not equal to square root. So if true, if statement code block will be executed. If false, else statement code block will be executed. So as you can see we use string.format. It's because, as I said earlier, the sample output is needed 2 decimal points. So we use string.format method to specify how many decimal number you want to your code. 1.2 or 0.2, it could be. So to run this,
hey guys, now I'm gonna show you the result of the program. So our input is 10, 7, and negative 10. So as you can see, prompt the user enter 3 integers. So we put our input numbers: 10, 7, space, negative 10. Then so as you can see, this is the result of the program. See you.